I am here with the stars of Bugs Bunny Builders. I'm very excited. It's a preschool show, but I'm a dad, and I'm a huge fan of the Looney Tunes. So I'm here with the voices of Bugs Bunny, among others, and Lola Bunny. Thank you so much for being here with us at the Nerds of Color. Again, I'm excited that not only are you guys voicing such iconic characters, but look, we got two Asian American voice actors playing two of the most iconic bunnies in all of animation. So how does that feel? Let's start with Chandni, since it's your first time in the Looney Tunes universe.
Oh my gosh, it's such a dream. I mean, I am so honored to just be among the legends that I am right now. I still am counting my lucky stars to be among Eric Bauza, Bob Bergen. It's been such a privilege and such an honor to voice Lola.
Yeah. Eric, you are not only voicing Bugs, as always, you are voicing essentially 3 or 4 characters in the universe. I think you have Tweety, Daffy. So when you're like playing the different characters along with Bugs, of course, do you ever get like DID? Do you kind of feel like, who am I now? I'm like talking to myself. Like, what is that like when you're voicing multiple characters all at once?
I'm glad you asked, Keith. What's up, Doc? How are you?
It doesn't even look real.
Yeah, I know. I'm playing it off my phone. I love the Batman 1989 poster.
Oh, of course, have to represent.
Yeah, nice.
I had that too growing up. I don't know why I got rid of it. It makes me want to go get another poster. But yeah, I think the the title Looney Tunes kind of describes the actors and actresses behind these voices. You kind of have to be a little crazy to talk to yourself in multiple voices. And just these characters are hilarious and crazy on their own. But yeah, we'll usually start with Tweety.
Ooh, I ta putty tat.
And then Daffy to separate Tweety from Bugs, because they kind of live in the same, I like to call it the house of Mel Blanc.
Mel Blanc, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bugs Bunny is up here, and when you stop talking like a New Yorker and start talking like a baby, it's almost the same voice.
But then they pitch up Tweety. And then when he was performing Daffy originally, he was actually doing Sylvester's voice, and then they would pitch that up, and it would become Daffy. But I self-pitch Daffy, and that's why he sounds so good.
It's like a lesson in voice acting all of a sudden, right? It's kind of awesome.
It's I call it couch potatoing 101.
Binge watching all the tunes.
Chandni, you're playing Lola, and Lola doesn't have the longevity of the characters that Eric just demonstrated. However, she is equally iconic, particularly Space Jam fans. And we're coming off of the Space Jam sequel in which Zendaya, of all people, played Lola. Even though you don't have to live up to the voice, because Lola's had a couple different voices in her incarnations. Kristen Wiig took a different turn a few years ago as well. How is your approach to Lola different or informed by the previous versions of Lola that predate this builder version of Lola?
Yeah, that's a great question, Keith. So I love the original, sounds of Lola. I love everybody's version of her. And I think we all bring something very different to her. So with mine, because I knew it was geared toward preschool, I did want it to remain bright and happy and everything positive. And I think what I bring to her is I wanted to keep her as loony and zany as possible. But at the same time, the entire show is about the collaboration, teamwork, and the she plays co-leader along with Bugs, so she does have that very serious or disciplined manner to her as well. So yeah, I kept her the strong, fierce, confident leader that she is, while wanting her to just play and hang with Daffy and Bugs. So she's just as bright as ever and strong. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned the preschool aspect, because this is the first time, a lot of people who aren't necessarily familiar with Looney Tunes forget sometimes that, like, especially those original ones, the Mel Blanc ones in particular, were not kids cartoons, right? Like, these cartoons that we all grew up with were actually, some of the jokes when you look back at some of the ones from the 50s and 60s were like, oh, these were for adults even back then.
Yeah.
This is the first time the Looney Tunes is specifically targeting a preschool audience. how does that change, or how do you adjust your performance knowing that, yes, you're playing these iconic characters, but the audience is clearly different from, like, say, the Space Jam audience or, a typical Looney Tunes audience? Eric, someone who's been doing this for a long time, how are you modulating your performance for preschool audiences?
Well, yeah, it's funny. If you look at my resume, there is a big period of time where I wasn't doing any preschool shows. I became a dad about 6 years ago, and then suddenly I started getting the preschool shows, and maybe it's because, like talking and raising a kid kind of helped, but yeah, it's definitely written specifically to educate and teach, and with preschool, it's really funny how much we do get in per 11-minute episode, because you kind of have to speak clear and slow, even if you are speaking with a lisp or in a character voice. There's still like a way we're directed, and Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, of course, is our voiceover director. And with Abe and Nix, the writers and the producers there, they help kind of guide and mold our performances to, what they were told and what is expected of their preschool audience. I think they've done a fantastic job combining, the educational aspect of it, but keeping it very entertaining and true to the Looney Tunes characters. It's always interesting to see them in different ways, whether they're selling a Happy Meal at McDonald's in a 30-second commercial, selling Nike shoes in a feature film, or in this sense, now education in 11-minute back-to-back episodes. And honestly, I haven't seen this much excitement for a preschool show among Looney Tunes fans in a lot, like, ever. Like, people are like, well, I guess I'm gonna watch a preschool show now.
I guess I'll learn collaboration and working with others.
They're like, damn you guys, like, you're gonna make me watch it, like, but it's amazing because it's like they want to see it. They're anxious to see it.
Yeah, Eric makes a good point about, like, the fandom that surrounds Looney Tunes. And, I guess the question is, for, even though this is aimed at preschoolers, like, what will longtime Looney Tunes fans recognize about Lola and Bugs in particular when they watch the show, even though, like, maybe they're watching with their kids? But what aspects, I know, Chandni, you brought up the fierceness of Lola and you're going to maintain that. Like, what are some of the aspects of these characters, even though it's a different setting, longtime old heads like myself will recognize about these characters?
Oh, yeah. So the entire show, to me, when I watch it and when we're doing ADR for it and everything, the nostalgia that comes over me when I see the same characters. And like Eric was saying, when it comes to preschool, I think the big note for me also is just speaking slow and the clarity of it and everything. So, but also keeping it as zany as possible. So I think that is the most recognizable feature, is the slapstick humor and the really wacky comedy that comes along with it. So yeah, keeping that, and under the direction of, Mary Elizabeth McGlynn and Abe, and getting to work with them and having them ground us into that is really fun to work with.
I think it's safe to say that Bugs and crew are some of the most iconic, not just cartoon characters, but like the almost like the symbol of Warner Brothers, right? Like,
completely.
Like a certain mouse symbolizes another company. I think Bugs is the symbol of Warner Brothers. So much so that you mentioned Batman '89. Like, I remember the Warner Brothers Shield used to have Bugs like eating a carrot, like right before the movie started. That was back in the day. You guys are also, not only is the Looney Tunes universe something you guys are familiar with, you guys are also well-versed in the superhero, the DC universe. There's a certain preschool Batman show coming up where I think we have a supervillain with us today. I mentioned Lola has, you have a lot of space to kind of invent Lola. Harley Quinn, on the other hand, is similar to Eric's takes on, you have a legacy to live up to. You have Millie Cuoco and Arlene Sorkin and Margot Robbie, right? Like Harley Quinn is a very, very specific character. What is your approach, if you can talk about Batwheels a little bit, to Harley in that upcoming HBO preschool?
Oh boy, So that show is a lot of fun to work on. Her character Harley, she plays. I'm a teenager, so I'm the teenage Harley for her show. So hers is just fun. She's just looking to have a blast and good time and create some ruckus in between. So it's a blast playing Harley in that aspect, where she's just, you know, yes, she's a super villain, but in my character, she's just unhinged, playing, having fun, laughing, causing trouble along with Joker and the gang the whole time. So it's, yeah, her, I would just define her as just having fun. She just happens to cause some trouble. And
And Eric, I like how you mentioned earlier about how, you know, even though shows may be aimed at preschool audiences, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. A good story is a good story. What would you want folks to take away from your experience here on Bugs Bunny Builders, even if they're not parents with kids?
I was gonna say, like, this is definitely something for the whole family to enjoy.
yeah.
If you know, whether you're a 6-year-old kid or younger, or a 6-year-old kid and older, you're gonna like this, because once again, Warner Brothers, you know, they don't often take these characters out of the garage. You know, I call Looney Tunes like the Cadillac of cartoons. You know, they give us the keys and they say, "Don't scratch it. Take it around the block."
Oh, I like that.
And park it where you found it. And they never change, like, the integrity of the characters, and that's why they're so they're everlasting, evergreen, because, like, they start with just who they always are. And I gotta talk about Lola for a second too. Like, she, again, to me, is almost like Marvin the Martian, in a sense where it's like, it's a character, like, even in the original run of Looney Tunes, there weren't a lot of Marvin cartoons. Marvin only appeared in like maybe like 4, maybe 5 tops,
Yeah.
and is still such a iconic character. And I feel like Lola is pretty much like the same. And Chandni is again the perfect cast for that. And
Thank you,
she lives and breathes the character.
Absolutely. I mean, you're absolutely right about Lola. Like, you know, when the new Legacy sequel came out, I remember a lot of the chatter was about Lola. So Lola has her fans, and I think they're going to be pleased with what they see when it comes to this new take on new, in the sense that it's Lola as, you know, administrator of a building company, right? Instead of like star basketball player.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
It's funny, again, putting these characters in that situation. Oh, they're construction workers? Like, why would they be? But it's like, why not? And again, props to the writers, because every week I'm like, okay, what could we do now? Like, and here it is. Here's a new plot, and it's really sweet and really funny. You're allowed to make mistakes because they can always be fixed if you're working with the Looney Builders. And yeah, it's just I think it's gonna be a sweet show, and I really do hope they make lots of toys.
Well, that's the other part. That's the other part. Well, it debuts on Cartoon Network on July 25th and will be streaming the next day on HBO Max. Before we go, I mentioned earlier about Batwheels, and as you can see by my background, I have a love for the DC universe as well. And you mentioned, Eric, how like these Looney Tunes characters never change who they are. They're always like these consistent characters. And I don't know if you guys remember, a few years ago, DC published a couple of mashup comics where they had Looney Tunes characters interacting with DC heroes. And one of my favorites was an Elmer Fudd and Batman comic that Tom King wrote. Would you guys, like, we have Harley Quinn in the room, and you know, Eric, you've played characters like Two-Face and stuff in the past. Would you love to take one of those Batman or DC Looney Tunes mashups and voice one of those? So if anyone at Warner Brothers listening,
oh yeah.
which characters would you match up together?
I mean, obviously, you know, like you just said, Elmer Fudd would be the perfect Wex Luthor, only because of the speech impediment. Wex Luthor. Yeah, he can't even say his own name. Poor Elmer.
How about a Lola Harley Quinn mashup?
Oh yeah, that'd be amazing.
I mean, you're talking to her.
Exactly. You got to start talking to you got to start writing your own dialogue. Well,
she's the mashup. Yeah.
You are the mashup. Exactly. Well, thank you so much for taking some time out to be here at the Nerds of Color. We are excited for Bugs Bunny Builders and what you guys have to offer in the future.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having us, Keith.
Thanks.
The activists, directors, comments and the lectures, fanboys, professional artists and professors. Maybe a nerd who's just like you, talking about the things that you like too. So I invite you to the NOC. In full color, you see me. The hard knock life, comics, movies and TV. Yeah, pop culture with a different perspective. Watch it on your screen, hit play, so check this.